Okay, so let's take a look at our next conic section. This is in section 11.4, right, of our textbook. Okay, so here's what I did to set this up, and I know the focus is a little bit further away, so the focus might not be okay. But I took two pieces of paper and I taped them together. So pause the video, get two pieces of paper, tape it together. Put the tape on the bottom side so it's not going to get in the way of your drawing. Okay, we're about to draw something here. Okay, and this is just scrap paper. You're not going. This isn't your notes really, just to show you something. Okay, this is what we'd be doing in class if we had class today. Okay. So, and then get a piece of string, right? And this is the easiest if you have string. So, and it doesn't matter how long it is, but notice how I taped it. I don't know if you can see the tape. I taped it here and I taped it here to hold it in place. Okay, I do have some extra here, and that's not a big deal. And you want to have it. You don't want to have it in a straight line. You want to have some loose. And when it's loose, you want to make sure that like it doesn't come off the end of the paper. So like it can't. Right? And as long as it stays on the paper, you're good. Okay. So, right, those are the two things you need. So if you can, right, if you have it available, try to find that in your house. Right, go find it and then get to this spot. Okay, now that you have all of that, hopefully you have all that. Okay, and if you can, this makes it so much more interesting if you can build it yourself. Okay, now take your pencil and notice how I'm holding the pencil right at the end there. Okay, and then just kind of trace right along where the string will let you go. Okay, now when you get over here, you can see it gets stuck, so you gotta pick it up, this, for yourself, or maybe you gotta let it, it's string, it's going to kind of be in the way there a little bit, so just kind of try to redo it and then do the other side as well. Okay, there we go. Okay, and just kind of keep going. You can see this is why we taped the other side, so that we didn't get in the way of the tape there. And whoops, see it's tagging a little bit, so you just got to be careful. Okay, you may have to trace a couple times as you do this. Okay, let me go back up and finish this top piece here. Okay, and you can see that when we did all that, and I know I'm doing my best here, let me pick up the video camera so you can really see. Alright, you can see it makes an oval, and that oval actually has a name. That is an ellipse. Okay, so we did talk about ellipses before. We looked at those conic. We said, hey, here's another type of conic section. This was the conic section where we get the cone. If we cut it with if we had the cone like this, a single cone, whoops, there we go, now it's a cone, and we did our cross section, the cross section was kind of slanted like this. Okay, right, that's where the ellipse comes from. Okay, and if you notice what we did, right, notice how when we were doing this, I just kind of traced along the string, but what we had true for these two is we had 2 points to start with. Okay, and those 2 points, those are the foci of this. There's there's one focus for a parabola. In this case, there's 2 focus. So here's focus 1, and there's focus 2. And it doesn't matter which one's focus 1 and focus 2. Right? We just have 2 focuses. So it's instead of called, there's 2 foci or foci, whatever, however you want to say it. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So there's 2 foci for this. Okay. And the thing about the string here is that if you look at while the string kind of adjusted, right, and this piece, zoom up again, right, okay, and this, you can see that the string kind of adjusted wherever I was holding it, right. What is true is that the sum of the 2 pieces, that this plus this length plus this length, was always the same, right, no matter where it was. So if I was up here, right, this length plus this length equals this length plus this length plus this length. It didn't matter where it was, right? Even when I was perfectly along this axis here, right? You can see that this one got super long, that one got shorter, right? We can see for ourselves, okay, right? It's still the same sum. Okay. Now, what's interesting to think about as we do this, right? And we can hopefully this will make sense. I'm going to cover up this extra. If we think about it here, right? This amount of leftover, right? Here, this little piece right here, see how there's an overlap there? If we were to pick that up and put it right here, right, well, if we were to take this piece, right, which was that length, and put it right here, right, here's the end of that, right, that's going to be equal. So you can see that this axis right here, right, that going all the way across, right, this right here is the sum of the distances from the two foci. So if we wanted to know what that sum is going to be, this would be the one we could measure. It's going to be really hard to measure any of those other ones, but this one is going to be a lot easier to measure because we're going to have our points that are right at the ends of these, and that's a vertex, and that's a vertex. Okay, they're both vertexes. So look, there's two vertices for this one. Okay, so vertexes plural is vertices. So you can see that we have a vertex here and a vertex here. There's my two vertices. Okay. If we were if we think about it, we have this right here, right? Our foci, and this should have gone right through. I didn't do a great job of it, so let me just redraw this on the smaller one. Okay. Okay, we have our two foci. Okay, we have this, and this is called the major axis right here for it. Okay, so that's our major axis. Actually, maybe I shouldn't label it on there because it's going to get. Okay, so remember that's a vertex and that's a vertex. So we have two vertices. Okay, the major axis is the axis between vertices. Okay, you could, if we had done it perfectly well, right? The foci are on the major axis. Okay, all right. There's two foci on the major axis. And hopefully that makes sense to you that the foci are on there, because as I was doing it before with the string, right? When I held it all the way over here, right? You can see the string is passing through that foci right there. Okay, obviously it's coming from that one, but it's also this long piece is passing through it as well. So there's two foci on the major axis. Okay. Now, you know, when we were doing circles, right? We had a center, and there's going to be a center for this one. It just doesn't mean quite as much. It does help us to think about where everything's coming from, but in terms of like the construction of it, didn't matter as much, right? So that we have a center. So there's one center. Okay, and this distance right here, we're going to call C, the distance from the center to the focus, and that distance is going to be C. Okay. This distance is called A, and this one is also A. Okay, so it goes A in both directions. Okay. So you're saying, where's B? Well, B is this distance right here. Okay. Right. So it's these pieces. Okay. These are the endpoints of the minor axis. Right, there's one endpoint of the minor axis, and here's the other. Okay, so together this is called the minor axis. Okay, and so the minor axis is perpendicular to the major. And it also equals 2b. We should say the major axis equals 2a, right? A plus a, and the major and the minor axis is equal to 2b. Okay. All right. So those are some of the important terms that we need for that. Okay. Now we can go through and derive our formula for this, and the derivation is pretty long and complicated. Okay. To find the relationship between it. Okay. I'll show it to you, right? Or am I going to ask you to do it? No, I'm not going to ask you to do it, but I just for what it's worth, I'll show it to you in the next video.